On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, college basketball season starts in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, less than 2 weeks for those of you listening to this, because it's Tuesday at least if you're listening to this. And Jake Marsh is here. Say hello, Jake.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Longtime fans of this show remember, Jake, you were like the OG guest, dude. You were just you haven't been on since like April, and you still have the record for the most appearances on this show.
I think the last time I was on this show, I was courtside in Houston.
Yeah.
I zoomed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you did. That's right. Yeah, and you were doing like selfie videos with Dan Hurley after the national championship. Yep. And then we threw you to the side. We're like, thanks, Jake. Get the fuck out of here.
It's all right. Fair enough.
Threw you over there. But college basketball is back, so Jake Marsh is back in my life. We are going to do our top storylines heading into the college basketball season. Jake is obviously a big J, and not just how he spells his name. His credentials have a big J with him too. So I wanted Jake in here to talk about like the macro, the big stories, the big picture, as we're gearing up for this college basketball season. And that is what we're going to do today. Jake Marsh, I'm so excited, dude. It's been way too long since you've been on the show.
I'm so pumped. Like you mentioned, 13 days at most if you're listening to this.
Yeah,
until
some people maybe are listening to this like right before tip-off. Maybe they're like, you know what, I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
And now it's like the day before the season starts, maybe.
So
maybe.
Congratulations. It's tip-off day.
Maybe. Either way, we are doing our top storylines today in college basketball as the season draws near. Let's get to it. All right, some housekeeping as we get started here. We are in the new studio. We're in the new digs in Chicago. We are actually, this is the first podcast being recorded here. Brandon and I did mostly sports. I was sitting in this seat. Brandon was sitting right there. That's not a podcast. It's a live YouTube show. Mm-hmm. Then we did the Yak, and I think this is it. This is the first podcast being recorded in this new studio that I just now thought about that, Jake. This is big time.
Love that.
This is history.
Such an honor.
This is history. People are listening to history.
Yep.
All right, college basketball season. Let's dive into it. I have 10 on my list. So the outline for today's show was I texted Jake. I said, let's do college basketball storylines. Interpret that however you want. Mm-hmm. You can take that in whatever direction you want. I just want you writing down what you think the biggest storylines are, and then we'll talk through them on the show. I wrote down 10 bullet points, which I was prepared to write down like 3. I was like, there's only really 3 that are kind of the big ones to me. And then I just kept going. I'm very excited for this season. I ended up with 10. How many do you have?
I have 8.
Okay. So we got a lot. We got a lot. I'm curious how many of them will overlap. How should we do this? You want to go first? You're the guest. I guess you can start us off. Like, what do you...
I think the first thing that came to my head, and this was a no-brainer, is the Big East coaching carousel. You have Rick Pitino in the mix. You have Ed Cooley, who's now, I still think he's one of the nicest guys out there. He's now a supervillain in this sport. And the Big East is the capital of college basketball, in my opinion.
Cooley is a nice guy insofar as like he's nice to Barstool. He's a nice guy insofar as he's a nice guy. Yeah, I should say.
In my perspective, my first person perspective.
But can you also step back and admit that there, like the idea of him being a villain back at Providence is very justified. Like if you're a Providence fan, you don't necessarily want harm on his family or whatever, but like him coming back to Providence, if you're a Providence fan, you're justified in like saying, I want to get drunk as shit and boo this man as loud as I possibly can.
He's said multiple times that was his dream job.
Yeah.
And he left his dream job
for his other dream, but he had his even more dream, his dreamer job.
Can you have 2 dream jobs?
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a great question. Yeah, I guess so. You could have more than one dream job, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't
know. I have one dream job.
What's your dream job?
To call a Super Bowl or Final Four one day.
This isn't your dream job? Damn.
It's my other dream job.
Damn.
That was literally 2 dreams.
Well,
yeah,
that could be
that's a good one.
Well, that could be
Final Four and Super Bowl.
That could be the same job, just different responsibilities.
Final Four and Super Bowl is Jim Nance. That's it.
Exactly.
Right? Is he the only guy that's done it?
I think
done
so.
Both.
Maybe
so your dream job is to be Jim Nance.
Yeah.
Just be Jim Nance in general.
Yeah.
Which
plays
is
a lot of golf.
That's a pretty sick dream job.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I think Big East coaches. I wrote down for I can cross this off now, but one of my bullet points just says Pitino, nothing else. Just Rick Pitino.
I think we just merged out with the Cooley.
Yeah, with the Cooley, with I think you got Dan Hurley, who's obviously the defending national champion, and I think Dan Hurley last year was I'm curious about the power dynamic that's going to unfold with him and the rest of the Big East, and that like last year there were a lot of personalities as far as Big East coaches, but frankly not a lot of success from the coaches, in the sense that like, you know, Shaka has only been to one Sweet 16, and Dan Hurley hadn't really done much in a tournament before, and Greg McDermott was a guy that's like, can he ever really fully get over a hump? And like, so you had all these like coaches that,
and you got a lot of new guys too, because Sean Miller was a first year, Shaheen Holloway, but like now that they're settling in, like those guys have success and second weekend runs. So now I think all of them
now it's like trending towards like, and Dan Hurley wins the national championship. I'm curious to see how much his, like, he was already a cocky son of a bitch, and very confident's probably the right word, but I'm curious how much that's going to change, where like he's like, I rightfully so, I run this league. But then also Shaka Smart's like, now hang on a second, I run this league. We won the Big East last year. We won the Big East tournament last year. I have the best player in the conference coming back. All of it's very fascinating. And then meanwhile, Butler, I don't expect Butler to be awesome, but Thad Matta's credentials are, I have to say that. I have to mention that Thad Matta is coaching in this conference, and he's been the multiple.
We were courtside for their season finale last year.
We were?
Madison Square Garden, first round of the Big East tournament.
Oh, that's right. We were. Yeah, we were sitting right by each other. Who did they lose to? St. John's, right?
I think so.
I think they lost to St. John's. Yeah.
Also, people forget we're in Big East country right now. Still.
We are, yeah. Yeah, we are with DePaul here. Actually, Chicago isn't even technically Big Ten country, because Evanston's its own thing, you know?
We're closer to a Big East school than we are a Big Ten school.
Yeah, we're closer to, that's a great point.
Atlantic 10, too.
Atlantic 10. That's true. Yeah. Wow, I never really thought about all this.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the fact that the Big Ten headquarters are here, but
yeah, the Big Ten headquarters are right by Fogo de Chao, by O'Hare. I drove by. Yeah, I when Brandon and I went to do we went up to the Rosemont Convention Center. And I drove by the Big Ten headquarters, and I was in the car by myself, and I let out an audible laugh, because I was just like, the fucking headquarters are by an airport with Fogo de Chao, but whatever, you know, whatever makes sense. That's a good one. The Big East, do you think the Big East is going to be the best conference this year?
I think it's going to be the most exciting conference.
Yeah.
I think we're talking storylines today. Like, if Providence and Georgetown's two unranked teams, by the time they're playing, it'll still be the highest rating that day.
Right.
I think the date's like a Saturday in January. That's going to be the best game. Like, College game day should be there.
That's the mark of an awesome conference, is a game like that, which, like, no disrespect to both of those.
There's a good chance they're both unranked.
But they're probably both going to be. Jay Nepps is my early preseason player of the year, though, because he had 46 points in a secret scrimmage against Wake Forest. So Georgetown is
it's over.
He's on my preseason All-American team as of right now. But yeah, Georgetown and Providence aren't expected to be like Final Four good, and yet still when they play, it will be must-watch TV, which is the mark of an awesome conference. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to keep it rolling. My first one I'm going to mention, then let's stay in the Big East. I think a storyline that I'm going to be fascinated with all season is UConn's quest for repeat.
Yep.
Like, is UConn as we're entering the season right now, it feels plausible, certainly. I mean, UConn is what are they ranked in the preseason? They're top. What are they? I know they're not top 5, but I think they're right on the outside, right? They are. Let me pull it up.
I just exited out by accident.
Yeah, they're 6. Yeah, literally right outside the top 5.
Yeah.
So UConn starts the season ranked 6th. Their schedule. Have you looked at their non-conference schedule?
You hinted at it.
Dude, holy shit! They play Indiana, who is probably not going to be as good as last year.
It's crazy, yeah.
They play Indiana, who's going to be all right. Indiana should be a tournament team this year in Madison Square Garden. Then they will probably play Texas. It's one of those double headers where if they beat
two games, 2 days.
Yeah, they play Louisville or Texas in the second game.
Oh, is that in Brooklyn?
Yeah, or was it MSG? I know it was in New York. I just assumed MSG. I forgot Brooklyn even exists. I forgot that I forgot that that's like a thing now. That games are played. I see.
Oh no, it is MSG.
Yeah, it's MSG. That's why I thought it was MSG.
Yeah.
So they play IU. They assuming they beat Indiana, they'll play Texas. Probably assuming Texas beats Louisville. They play at Kansas. They play North Carolina back in Madison Square Garden. They play Gonzaga in Seattle. And then they play the Big East schedule, which is going to be a gauntlet with Marquette and Obviously, Creighton's going to be very good. Villanova's supposed to be better. That's insane. And I think, like, as the season wears on, one, they're going to be battle-tested. Like, when the tournament comes, UConn will be very much in a position where even if UConn has, like, 10 losses, you're still talking yourself into, like, dude, they have a path. I'm assuming they're going to be in the mix. The other thing that is going to be fascinating, though, is Donovan Klingen's foot. Big men with foot injuries is a terrible combination. As of right now, it doesn't feel like anybody's super alarmed by what's the progress he's making and all that sort of thing. But I think, like, kind of observing how effective he is, because he's a guy that could be an All-American, could be first team All-American, could be National Player of the Year good. But at the same time, like, is that a lingering injury? Does UConn ever really fully put it together? They're going to play an insane schedule. Like, do they start stacking losses, and, like, the losses actually aren't helpful instead of, like, being battle tested? The confidence is shot. All of that is going to be fascinating. But if they can have, like, a great run at this non-conference schedule, the repeat talk's going to be really, really juicy, really juicy. So that's something that I think we'll be kicking around the idea of UConn pulling off back-to-back titles all season, even all the way when the bracket comes out. You and I are both going to look at it and be like, even if UConn's like a 6 seed, we're going to look at it and be like, dude, I see a path. I
just feel like the defending champ. I feel like they always have a first weekend exit.
It's so hard.
Mm-hmm. I don't think. Sorry to bring this up. I don't think what the Gators did is going to happen again.
Well, what cheat? Bring back all 5 starters? Win a national championship, and instead of sending guys to the NBA, bring back 5 starters? Yeah,
it's just the randomness of March Madness.
For what it's worth, I'm on record as saying I don't think UConn, like, UConn is ranked 6th. They are right behind Marquette. Creighton's 8th in the preseason bowl. I would have UConn 3rd of those 3, solely because not that I don't trust UConn or that I don't trust it. Like, I see the vision. It's just I think the 3 guys that they lost more than 3 guys, but the big 3, Sonogo, Jordan Hawkins, and Andre Jackson, those 3 guys are so good. They were so good. And I just want to see first, I guess. Like, I want to make sure, because in my mind, I'm like, man, those guys are going to be tough to, like, Dan Hurley is the set play god, and he's got all these sets, but part of running all these sets that makes you look awesome is when you have a guy like Jordan Hawkins curling off of screens and, like, can hit any shot with the hand in his face. And Cam Spencer, TJ's guy from Rutgers.
He's a lacrosse player, right?
His brother was, I think.
The brother, yeah. Pat Spencer.
He's a great shooter, great ball player. He is not Jordan Hawkins. No. And I just kind of want to see how the pieces all fit together, but I do see the vision. So who do you like the most in the Big East?
Obviously, they're going to play a factor. I feel like at some point Creighton has to break through, right?
Yeah. Creighton has been.
They have to.
Creighton's the trendy pick that every time I ask people, they're like, listen, Marquette won the league last year. They bring a lot back. UConn won the national championship. They obviously have high hopes this year, but don't sleep on Creighton. The Ashworth kid they got from Utah State is supposedly fucking awesome.
Maybe Xavier, Sean Miller settled in. Not to win, just be good and relevant.
Yeah, they're not gonna win, but
I'll go with Creighton.
Yeah, Creighton is. I think that's who John Fanta picked. So
let's go.
Mr.
Following the footsteps of a legend,
Mr. Big East himself. So UConn running it back. I think that's something that I will be very, very into all season, and even if I'm trying to think of, like, what scenario I would think, like, okay, this is definitely not happening. I mean, like, if they go over in those big games, if they lose to IU.
Well, they're going to win one in that.
Yeah, they're going to beat Louisville. Yeah. So even if they lose to IU, they'll beat Louisville. I guess there's a world where, like, Louisville upsets. There's not. Is there?
Didn't they go like 4-26?
Like, if they lose all these non-conference games, maybe it's not as interesting of an idea, but I don't know, man. I think they're just gonna be hovering around, and we will see. But you're right. It's so hard to repeat. It does feel like a first round exit or first weekend exit.
Yeah, because Kansas was second round to Arkansas last year, right?
Yeah,
it was an 8-1.
Bill Self he didn't coach, right? In the
I don't think so. Yeah.
So asterisk that, but
yeah.
You're right. It is very difficult. Villanova got bounced in between their 2 titles. They got bounced in the first round.
Right.
And then in between by Wisconsin.
Yep.
Won a title, lose to was that the Nigel Hayes shot? Bronson Koenig. That was a Koenig
Yeah, that was
shot.
a 2-7 game, I think.
Yeah.
In the second round.
Yeah, I think it was Koenig that hit the shot in
Yeah.
the corner, right?
I think it hit the rim or something.
It was kind of a Kawhi.
Yeah.
It was Kawhi.
Yep.
The Kawhi against the Sixers.
I think it was
shot.
the same spot.
Yeah,
that
it was
back
like the same
left corner.
Yeah, they get bounced and they come back the next year and win the title again. So
yeah.
All right, what else you got on your list? You go.
This one, I guess I can merge 2 of them. It's a lot of the Blue Bloods have Blue Blood hype combined with Calipari hot seat, which is a classic. I'm playing the hits, but you actually brought this up to me. We were chatting last week when I realized that the Champions Classic was here in Chicago, and I said we should go. We're getting credentials. We can go. And then you're like, yeah, 3 of the top 4 teams are playing there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Like, this was like the day after the rankings came out. You have them 3. Michigan State, Duke, and Kansas are 3 of the top 4. Kentucky's still ranked, but Kentucky fans have to be, 2012 was their last title, right?
2012's the last title. It's been a minute since Final Four. 2015's the last Final Four. I have that right. Yeah, 2015 is the last Final Four.
That's crazy. It's going to be 9 years already.
Yeah. But
for them,
I've gone on record. I think it was the last show. Was that the last show I did, TJ, when I went on record as saying Kentucky's going to be good?
Yes.
Was that the last one?
Was one of your takes.
Literally the last show we did. Yeah, I've gone on record. I think this Kentucky team's going to be good. I think they're going to be good. And I think if the calendar said 2010 and John Calipari had this roster, I think Kentucky preseason would be certainly a top 10 team. I'm trying to figure out if they'd be top 5. But Cal has lost the benefit of the doubt with people from the last few years that they what do they clock in at 16th, I think, in the preseason poll.
yeah.
I think this roster is miles more talented than anything he's had for a few years. Like this slump that Cal has had. It's just like a tricky thing because he had the National Player of the Year, but Oscar, God, he's the weirdest National Player of the Year ever, Jake.
Yeah.
Like he was.
Was it 2 years ago where he really dominated?
Yeah.
And last year he was.
Last year he kind of got exposed. Like last year
25 rebounds a game 2 years ago, right?
Last year he could not play defense, and he was like kind of a liability. Not even kind of. I think he was like a liability when he was on the court, but he played so hard still. He would still like grab rebounds. He would still like so. It always felt weird to kind of say don't play him. like I wasn't rooting for his downfall. I was like the kid's likable and he plays hard, but holy shit! Like what happened? How do we give this guy National Player of the Year? That was really really bizarre. But I think Kentucky's gonna be way better, dude. I think they're gonna open up the floor on offense. They're gonna let their guys. Robert Dillingham looks fucking awesome. Justin Edwards looks awesome. DJ Wagner looks awesome. I'm really curious. The Champions Classic is going to be interesting because there are going to be a lot of good teams. There are going to be a lot of good players like there are every year. But I don't necessarily think it's going to tell us much, but I think it is going to be exciting. Like it's going to be something where I guess that is kind of the Champions Classic every year. Like I think Kentucky is not going to be close to a finished product for the Champions Classic, but I still think there's a chance that they can win. I think there's a chance that we might come away from the Champions Classic being like Kentucky's the most talented team in the country, but they're very young, and Cal has lost the benefit of the doubt because the last few years they've stunk.
Yeah, and then you look at the other 3 teams: Kansas 1, Duke 2, Michigan State 4. I had no idea Michigan State was 4 until you told me last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't realize that they had this much hype entering the season.
They bring a bunch of dudes back, and then they have a great recruiting class.
Yeah. So that's exciting. So I'm excited for all those big names to have hype heading into the season and for us to overreact after the Champions Classic.
Going off of that, I wrote down this bullet point I want to talk about. One thing that's going to be the case all season long, I think, is that Kansas has positioned themselves to be the villains of the sport this year
Because of Hunter?
Yeah, well, yeah.
and they had that.
I was gonna say there's more to it, but like Hunter, like basically being the preseason #1 team, and Hunter Dickinson saying like, I want everyone to know that we're better than you.
Oh yeah, he said that at media day, right?
Yeah, and he hasn't played 1 second of basketball for Kansas yet. But then also the NCAA basically letting Kansas off with 0 penalties, more or less. after all that going on, after the whole FBI scandal, when I don't know that whole where as a reminder, Bill Self suspended him. They suspended Bill Self because he did nothing wrong, but just in case he did do something wrong, we're going to suspend him for these. I think it was like 4 games. Mm-hmm. We're going to suspend him 4 games just in case he did something wrong. This is not an admission of guilt, but also we're just going to suspend him just in case. But again, he didn't do anything wrong. And then the final judgment gets passed, and Kansas gets it, which I don't care, and I've said on the show a million times, I don't really care. It's just, it is funny. It is the NCAA has zero power. But more to the point, Jake, I think they've positioned, Kansas has positioned themselves to be the villains all season, with getting away with murder in the eyes of a lot of their rivals and a lot of the people that did suffer penalties from the NCAA through the FBI stuff. They have to fucking hate Kansas. They have, like, Oklahoma State has to just be enraged, and Missouri has to be enraged, and Louisville has to be enraged.
Yeah. Oklahoma State just, I think Mike Boynton said, like, they're owed an apology.
Yeah.
Because the year with Cade,
they didn't play in the NCAA tournament. Yeah. And Kansas got, like, I'm glad Kansas got nothing. I just wanted Oklahoma State to get nothing too, you know? But then Hunter being the face of the program now and being so cocky is Kansas is going.
He embraces it though. He knows he can turn heads.
So I think that's going to be interesting all year. That, like, I mean, the providing that quote is. I mean, that the meme potential. If things go wrong for
the first
Kansas,
loss, they have to run the table for it not to backfire.
Yeah. I forgot to mention they brought in Arterio Morris, who had like sexual assault charges pending against him. He gets kicked, like he got run out of Texas, and Bill Self was like, "Yeah, bring him to campus. We need a wing who can score. He's talented. I don't give a shit what he's got going on off the court." And then surprise, surprise, he's kind of a piece of shit, and they had to move on from him, kick him off the team. Which everyone was like, "Yeah, of course he is. Why did you bring him on campus in the first place?" Generally, of the big 4 of Carolina, Duke, Kansas, and Kentucky, those blue bloods, Kansas to me has historically, and for a lot of people, they're going to throw up in their mouth when they hear this, but Kansas has been the lesser of the 4 evils. Like, Kansas to me has been the more likable of the 4 programs. There's just something about, like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about that program, but I find myself, like, not hating them as much as I might hate the others.
I feel like people don't hate UNC.
UNC was number 2 on my list. I would put.
Everyone hates Duke and Kentucky.
Yeah, I would put Kentucky probably 3 and Duke 4, but they flip-flop depending. But yeah, like, Kansas to me was always number 1 because, like, if you go to have you ever been to a game at Allen Fieldhouse?
I actually called a game. My first road trip with Vermont.
Really?
Yeah, I was on the floor. I was shoulder to shoulder with Fran Fraschilla.
Oh, no shit.
It was my first road trip right out of school. It was unreal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you have the same feeling I did when my one trip there, which is like you walk around the place and look at the concourse. Thank you. And you see, like, the museum.
Yeah, it's like
and part of you thinks that, like, basketball, like it just popped up from the ground there. Like, that's like where, like James Naismith was walking through 100%. A cornfield in Kansas and he found a basketball and he was like, "What is this?" And, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's a museum.
So that part of Kansas, I think I always had a reverence for that program because of that. And that's my long-winded way of saying, in spite of all of that, I still think they have positioned themselves to, like, leapfrog Duke, Kentucky, and Carolina to where, like, this year in particular, I think they're more hateable than all of them.
Right. So basically, moral of the story is when Kentucky and Kansas come here to Chicago, Kentucky's the lovable.
Kind of, yeah.
Lovable,
kind of, right?
Guy.
And Duke, like, K's not there anymore, so, like.
Yeah, I love Shire.
Shire's
he's got an extension. He's a Chicago guy.
Yeah, if you hate Shire, it kind of says more about you, I think. Yeah. Like, you can hate Duke's program, but,
no one really hits Izzo that much either, outside of, like, Big Ten. I mean, you might as a Big Ten guy, but I have nothing against him.
No, most Big Ten people respect Izzo. I think the hatred of Izzo would be if you feel like the sucking off of Izzo every March is overdone. I think that's, like, the people that, like, hate Izzo, quote unquote, are just like, shut up with the. You can't call a guy Mr. March who's won 1 national title.
That's fair.
I think that's that's how people. But as far as, like, a coach, I mean, he's a very likable guy, right?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Kansas being villains, I had on my list. What else you got?
I have conference realignment CBB edition. Yes. So next year is obviously the big ones at the Big Ten, but people forget Houston in the Big 12.
Right.
And they're very relevant in basketball. Cincinnati, I don't know how they're going to be. UCF, am I forgetting anyone?
BYU in the Big 12.
BYU.
Yep.
Oh my God, Gonzaga might run the table again. I mean, they should.
In the West
Yeah,
Coast
I mean,
Conference?
they always do. But
I mean, St. Mary's is the
Yeah,
one.
St.
You know,
Mary's.
St. Mary's is always
yeah, I
the
forgot about
Gonzaga.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's
I'm
is
an
always
idiot.
the Gonzaga stopper.
Yeah. Is there anyone else besides those Big 12 editions? I feel like Houston being in the Big 12 is the biggest
FAU
one.
to the American. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's juicy. But I'm trying to think of relevance. Because there are teams that move, but like as far as like national relevance,
But I think
that might be
Houston
it.
in the Big 12 is going to be a big one.
Yeah, that is going to be. It sort of feels to me, the early vibe I'm getting is that the Big 12 is going to go back to being Kansas's conference, and they kind of are head and shoulders better than Baylor and Houston and Texas and everyone else, even though they're going to be good teams this year. But I do think Houston's the one team that can disrupt that notion, and Houston can. It's going to be fascinating because Houston's program is very much on the rise.
Yeah.
Kelvin Sampson is very much one of the best coaches in the country. But if Houston fans want to pretend like being in a lesser conference wasn't part of the equation of all that, they're lying to themselves. So this is the opportunity for Houston to step up.
Right.
And I've been critical of Houston through the years of like not necessarily feasting on the little guy, but there has sort of been an element of that. Like I remember the Final Four run, they only beat double-digit seeds, and like I'll never forget this when they had an opportunity to play Gonzaga and they basically dodged Gonzaga. This was the COVID year when Gonzaga was undefeated. Houston was very good that year. Houston ended up going to the Final Four. Gonzaga tried to play them. They dodged Gonzaga, scheduled a game with Our Lady of the Lake in Texas.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I think so, yeah.
Dude, and I was like, what kind of behavior is this out of a program that's supposed to be, upper echelon elite? But they've had great NCAA tournament success and yeah, I don't know. I do think there's something to be said about like the belief that anybody could rack up wins in a lesser conference, but if you played night in and night out in a gauntlet of like a Big 12 or a Big East or a Big 10 or whatever, maybe you're not going to look as good. And we're going to find out with Houston because I do think Houston has one of the best programs in the country. This year they're going to be very good. They're going to be very guard-oriented like they always are. But the Big 12 is tough, and we shall see. So that's a good one, man, because that's going to be –
And they have a pretty easy non-conference, too. I'm seeing
course they do.
Xavier, Texas
course they
A&M, and that's pretty much it.
Of course. But I don't have a problem with that this year because I think
First year in
the Big
yeah.
12, you got to
Every game
set yourself up for success. Yeah.
I mean, the Big 12, so they have 18 conference games. I feel like if they go 14-6 in their first year, like that's a success.
Yeah,
That's not 18.
yeah. 14.
12-6.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah,
math.
12. It would be 12-6, and I mean, I don't think they're going to be super thrilled with that 12-6. But so what? You're losing to Kansas. Well, yeah, they got to go better than 12-6.
Anyway.
Yeah,
first year, but I feel like the conference realignment first year is always a little bit of a wake up call. But yeah.
I
excited
mean,
for that.
Houston has positioned themselves to be a program that shouldn't. If there's one program that can step up and compete immediately with the Big 12, it should be Houston. Quick break to talk about our friends at Gametime. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you. Anything you could think of, you can get tickets to. Gametime has you covered. I used Gametime last week. John Mayer came to Chicago, did a little a solo concert. I think it's literally called a solo tour. Did not realize he was in Chicago. Woke up that morning, was nosing around at something. I think I might have saw like on his Instagram that he was in Chicago, and I was like, oh damn, John Mayer, United Center. I gotta go. Hit up Gametime, got great tickets at a great price. Was a great concert. Could not thank Gametime enough for making the experience so easy. I knew I was getting the best deal. I knew my seats were going to be great. Everything worked out great. John Mayer's awesome. He played, by the way, just as an aside, he played Dark Star, Your Body is a Wonderland, and then played Dark Star, which was really funny. But anyway, Game Time is the only ticketing app that I use to get complete peace of mind with my purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without those hidden fees. I hate those hidden fees. Before I found Game Time, I would use other apps. I would think that the ticket was X dollars. I would click on it. I'd be ready to check out, and then the ticket would be like 5 times more expensive than I thought it was going to be. None of that with Game Time. No hidden fees. You know what's going to... You know what you see is what you get. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Titus for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Speaking of the conference realignment and everything, I wrote down Pac-12 last gasps.
Damn.
The last Bill Walton.
Yeah. What are they gonna do?
And what's fascinating?
Are they gonna join the Big Ten network?
I don't know what he's gonna do. I think Walton going sending him to just the old Pac-12 schools and not telling him what's going on is the only way to go about it. I think like making him a Big Ten guy just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, or
I don't think he can be a Big Ten guy.
He can just be the voice of Oregon State or Washington State.
Yeah. He just goes back and forth with those two schools.
And when the two of them play each other, like he does a solo broadcast or something.
yeah. The Pac-12 though with football, this last season with football in the Pac-12 has been incredible.
It's been so good.
They're so good.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated this year if we can get something similar. It does feel like it's not going to happen. It feels like UCLA is going to be a little bit worse. I mean, certainly than they were last year. I felt like UCLA last year could have won the national title if Jalen Clark was fully healthy. Arizona should be not as good, but they're still going to be very, very good. Colorado should be pretty good. USC is interesting, but like there's no heavy hitters going into the season. So I am curious if the Pac-12 will just like kind of slowly fade away versus like what they're doing in football, which is going out with a massive bang.
Yeah, you mentioned USC. That was one of the things I had, just Bronny.
Yeah, Bronny, dude.
I mean, obviously he had that scare, that health scare in the offseason, but I think he should be
That's
back
what they're
and
saying,
playing,
yeah.
which would be great. And
Yeah.
just having those types of eyeballs on college basketball is going to be awesome. It's college basketball, we were talking before, it's a very niche sport.
Right.
But we're going to get some outsiders watching these games if he's involved.
Right. Bronny will get the Dion treatment where he just like USC gets talked about a little bit more than they probably should just because Bronny's on the team.
Yeah.
I think Patino's in that category as well, by the way. I think there's a chance St. John's
There's not going to be good.
No, like I think they're going to be good, but they're going to be pushed to the moon. Like I've said this on the show for a while now. Like if St. John's starts out like 10-0, which I think their schedule's very favorable, there are going to be dudes that are voting them like top 10. Yeah. They play Michigan, I think, in Madison Square Garden pretty early in the season.
Yeah.
Do you have their schedule? What's their schedule? Read their schedule. I love schedule reads.
Stony Brook, Michigan, North Texas.
Oh, Michigan's second?
Yeah, Michigan's their second game.
Michigan's a second game? Okay, keep going. Sorry.
North Texas.
Yeah.
That's neutral, so it might be a tournament. I'm just looking off of KenPom, so they might have more after North Texas. But Holy Cross, West Virginia, Sacred Heart, BC, Fordham, Xavier, UConn, Hofstra, then conference. I mean,
yeah.
So conference, but yeah.
So if they can get to like the Xavier game undefeated, I think if they beat that's the scenario, dude. If they are undefeated going into the UConn game, which I think is very plausible.
Defending champs against
I'm not gonna say I'm expecting it to happen, but I'm saying it's definitely in the realm of possibility with that schedule because West Virginia is not going to be awesome. Xavier is going to be good, but like where's that Xavier game at?
That Xavier game is at home.
At home, yeah. So they knock off Xavier. You're going into the UConn game. How many games?
So they have that North Texas game is the first of 3. They're playing in Charleston. So
who else is in that tournament?
Dayton, LSU. I can look at the other 4, but
yeah,
those would be the first 4.
I'm just trying to flesh out this scenario, Jake. You have undefeated St. John's playing the defending national champions, Rick Pitino versus Dan Hurley.
It's actually Houston's in it.
Oh, Houston's in it?
Dayton, Houston, LSU, North Texas, St. John's, Towson, Utah, Wake.
They're probably not going to beat Houston.
So they probably won't be undefeated.
So
but
if they are, then like really the hype is if they beat Houston, the hype is going to be absurd. But I think it's going to be – I think people – the college basketball media is chomping at the bit to get Rick Pitino back into the limelight.
Good for the sport.
Yeah, it would be great for the sport if St. John's is legit this year.
Yeah,
so,
I love saying that. Good for the sport.
Good for the sport.
Yeah. Just like such a great cliche.
I know. I should have had you do your good for the sport power rankings.
Yeah, I think every time I come on the show, I should just come with
some things that would be good for the sport.
Yeah. Or something that's happened that's good for the sport.
Oh, yeah. Like what happened last week that was great for the sport? And what is I'm saying like that would be your segment. Yeah, like what so this past week this was the number one thing I felt like was good for the sport.
Like last week, the preseason poll came out. That's good for the sport. Because it gets people talking about college basketball in October.
Dude, you're so right. We were getting ready to record a show and I didn't realize the poll was coming out and I was kind of looking at TJ like I don't really know what to talk about, dude. I feel like I'm running out of off-season shit. And then the poll comes out, and I sat down, and I was like, clear my schedule. Yeah. I'm doing a show for, I could talk about this forever.
And good for the sport is pretty much the same as when blank team is good, the sport is better for it.
Yeah. Which ultimately is kind of like any team, Like there's really...
Yeah, because you can make a good storyline out of everything. Anything. Yeah. Like FAU last year.
Right.
It was great for the sport, the little guy.
Every team being good is great. Yeah. Like it's not.
But 2 years ago in New Orleans, that Final Four was amazing for the sport.
It was awesome. Amazing. Not just good for the sport. That was amazing. I wrote down, so I just mentioned the Pac-12. I'm going to throw this one in here too. A storyline that I'm fascinated with, and we're going to get Chapter 1 very early in the season. Mm-hmm. Caleb Love redemption tour. Caleb Love you're talking about the 22 Final Four.
Yeah.
Icon. He's an icon. He's a Carolina legend. He kills Coach K. The shot over who was that? Mark Williams? I think it was Mark Williams. He hit the shot over. Yeah, well, it had to have been someone on Duce.
That's true. It
would have been weird if he shot it over.
That's one of those
teammate.
Things where I just try to talk into the mic and sound smart instead of just letting you talk.
Caleb Love shot. I'm pretty sure it was Mark Williams, but I want to make sure I'm right. Caleb Love dagger. Caleb Love dagger. The Caleb Love dagger. We got 4 people looking this up. Surely one of us. Yeah, Mark Williams.
Okay.
Good memory for me.
Yep, very nice.
Good job. I do that on the show with Brandon, by the way, is like I pretend to not remember something. And then I'm like, did Georgia win the national championship last year?
Just so you sound smart because it's like, oh, I guess.
Yeah, and then I'm like, let me look it up. And then I'm like, yeah, Georgia did win the football. And then I'll tell TJ, give me a point. And then Brandon's like, how did you?
Let's go. That's so smart.
Genius move by me.
Yeah.
Caleb Love hits the shot to the dagger to end Coach K, right? Carolina comes back last year ranked number 1 in the country. They missed the tournament. Caleb Love was made out to be the scapegoat. I mean, there's no two ways about that. Caleb Love, looking back on this past North Carolina season, he's the scapegoat. He's the guy that left. RJ Davis is still there. Armando Bacot is still there. Caleb Love has to get out, goes to Tucson. He's going to play for Tommy Lloyd now. And I'm fascinated to see if I don't know if humility is what he needs, but like a change of scenery might be what he needs. But like if you talk to Carolina people, they're like, yeah, Caleb Love was up his own ass about like that run from the Final Four, that he stopped playing team basketball. He started just jacking up insane shots, and that was the reason Carolina stunk last year. So Tommy Lloyd's a great like guard coach and a great runs very fun offense. Will Caleb Love thrive in this new system he's got? Will he like take the criticism he faced last year, internalize it, and turn into a better player and lead an Arizona team that I think is probably the favorite to win the Pac-12? Or will he not? And what I said earlier about the first chapter of this Caleb Love redemption tour and seeing if he is in fact that guy still. Arizona plays at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Ooh. Oh, that's opening week?
Opening week, Friday, to open the season.
Wow.
Friday.
I didn't realize how early that was.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Arizona, Caleb Love in Cameron Indoor Stadium.
He's won there before.
On the Friday to open the season. And then Arizona's also going to play Purdue. They're also going to play Michigan State. They play Purdue in Indianapolis. I'm just fascinated to see how much Caleb Love will be in our lives as college basketball fans this year, because he is a name that is very familiar to college basketball fans. He is a an icon for March Madness, certainly, and certainly in the Tobacco Road rivalry. But he's now out in Arizona, and it's not like he transferred to a school that's like irrelevant now. And it's like, yeah, he's still in the sport, but he's kind of, he's playing for a team that's not quite as relevant. No, Arizona's going to be very, very relevant. There's a world where Arizona is a Final Four contender.
Absolutely.
But, it's contingent on how good Caleb Love is and how much he can play team basketball.
And remember, this is a team that obviously he wasn't involved in, but this is a team that has a huge chip on their shoulder. They lost to Princeton.
Yeah.
They were my national championship pick.
Arizona was last year?
Yeah. 2 straight years I've had my champion pick lose in day one.
Kentucky
lose to St. Peter's, Arizona lose to Princeton. I think this year, whenever we do our bracket preview, I'm just picking a champion that plays on Friday.
That's smart.
This way I have life.
Or do you just commit to the bid at this point?
Yeah.
And just
that
try
would
to
be
see,
really
try
funny.
to
You're
see
right.
if you can get 3 in a row. Because that's almost harder
but I have to
do.
pick a 1 or 2 seed.
That's almost harder to do than picking a national champion
Yeah.
one year. Getting 3 national champion picks. Because even last year, if you would have picked
FDU or Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue, FDU would be, yeah. Like, I don't know, man. It's how happy is Tommy Lloyd that Purdue lost to FDU?
There's no one's talking about this.
Yeah.
I actually kind of forgot about it until I was
So
looking
you just
at
looked it up, dude.
schedule.
Yeah, I know. They lost to a 15 seed. That's the quietest 15-2 win in NCAA tournament
100%.
history. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, Arizona, Umar Balo's back. Keyshawn Johnson, kind of an under-the-radar transfer, by the way, from San Diego State. Started for San Diego State in a national championship game, Jake, and is now transferred to Arizona. And, I don't want to say it was not reported, but it was like not one of the transfers that everybody was talking about in the offseason.
Yeah.
He's not even the number 1 transfer to Arizona because Caleb Love's there. But that's fast. How often have you ever seen a starter in a national championship game transfer,
like
and then it's like not really kind of flies under the radar? So
that's fair.
Pella Larson back for Arizona. They're going to be good, man.
But they lost Kirk Carissa.
They did. They did lose Carissa. So that's another wrinkle to this is like Kirk Carissa, I felt like kind of, for better or worse, was Arizona basketball for the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of was. I guess it got to a point where it was for worse. But Caleb Love, a lot of similar vibes with Caleb Love.
Yep.
And the way his North Carolina tenure went, and Kirk Carissa and the way his Arizona, where it's like he's a good player, makes great plays every so often, but also there's 1 or 2 moments every game where he's like, it's my time, watch this.
Mm-hmm.
And throws up an air ball, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
And he's a great character.
Kerr?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he was awesome.
Great for the sport.
Great for the sport. There it is. So, yeah, how Caleb Love will – if Caleb Love is giving Kirk Carissa vibes, I don't know how well that will be received by Arizona fans. But, yeah, it'll be really interesting. So I wrote that one down. What else you got?
I've got the continuation of the Hall of Fame coach turnover continues. I guess continues. You had Coach K. You had UNC with Roy Williams going down.
Yep.
Jay Wright. And then this year, Jim Boeheim, Bob Huggins.
Bob Huggins.
Out.
People forget. Bob Huggins out. Or is he? Because he says he's still the coach. He said he never resigned. He said.
But so those old school Big East teams, which are both no longer in the Big East, obviously, but it's a new chapter for the first time in a long time for
Streets are saying
Hall of Famers.
Syracuse might be all right. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I love Adrian Autry. He's a very nice guy. I think he's easy to root for. Man. Man to man.
We might be seeing some Syracuse man to man. In fact, we probably will.
I don't think we'll be seeing zone.
Yeah. That's I'll believe it when I see it. To be completely honest.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that Autry has a completely different philosophy and he's going to play man to man. But until I actually see Syracuse basketball playing predominantly man to man, I will not believe it.
So I don't know if these two schools have the highest of expectations, but I think it's just the passing of the torch kind of thing that will keep people's eyeballs glued to them.
West Virginia had some expectations before all of this stuff went down. I feel for West Virginia, man. They were in a position to. They weren't going to win the Big 12.
Kirk Carissa is there, by the way.
Kirk Carissa is still there. Yeah. I think West Virginia was in a good spot, and then now they're not. What is Huggy going to do? Because he
don't know.
He claims that he's still the coach. So when West Virginia's first game
was there
happens,
an update? I feel like that was like 6 months ago, and then what happened since then?
Yeah, I don't know. Are they like litigating it in court right now? Is there like a settlement taking place? When What a bizarre story.
Yeah.
Like the resigning part. I mean, like the DUI stuff is pretty straightforward.
The way that
got sloshed.
Both of them ended their tenures. Boeheim too. It just happened right after the conference tournament.
Yeah.
And then he was like hinted at retirement, and then he was just out.
I had heard that Boeheim. This isn't me being LeBron. I'm not doing the LeBron meme, but I actually think it was Tate. Tate on one of our shows. I don't know if he actually said it on the show, but I remember he told me he's always good for like 2 or 3 like crazy scoops a year. He actually had like the Coach K scoop that Coach K was going to retire because Nike had started preparing their Coach K farewell tour.
Wow.
And then I remember one day, like it was probably like this time last year. He was like, I think this is Boeheim's last year. I was like, you're gonna report that? I don't remember if he said it on the show or not.
But no one said.
But then I was operating all last season thinking it was going to be Boeheim's last year. And so I don't think it was exactly out of nowhere, but still it was kind of out of nowhere because he didn't really say anything. Yeah. I felt like he should have retired like 5 years earlier, maybe even more than that.
I think he should have went out with his sons.
Yeah.
That makes
yeah. Syracuse fans are happy he's gone, right? You're not gonna miss it.
They
for
are.
A second. Yeah.
But I am very much, and I know you talked about this last week on your show. I'm very much looking forward to Jim Boeheim on the call for ESPN.
I put that on the list. Yeah.
He needs to call a Cuse game, right?
I put that on the list. Yeah. He's got to call a Cuse game. But it can't be like a meaningful Cuse game though, because I think the fans of the other team will actually
say he's biased.
Say he's biased. They will actually riot. They will like. Can you imagine like Cuse playing, Carolina or Duke or something, and Boeheim's on the call?
That would be incredible. I would love that.
I don't know if I want him to call games. I just want him to sit at a desk.
I think he's splitting his time.
Yeah, I don't want him to call games. I want him to just sit at a desk and we throw it to Jim Boeheim every so often. And like maybe they cut in during games, and they're just like, Jim, what do you think about? Jim, you've faced Georgia Tech a lot in your day. Like, what do you think about the arena that Georgia Tech has? He's like, one of the worst places I've ever coached. One of the worst
pavilion.
He's like, one of the worst. Let me tell you about this locker room that they got. And they're like, all right, thanks, Jim. Let's go back to the game. I'm so fired up for him on ESPN. Dude,
I'm really excited.
He does not give a fuck.
It's gonna be great.
I had a couple other media things I wanted to run by you. So Boeheim, ESPN was one of them. Another thing I wrote down was, we already talked about Bill Walton. Will I get Peacock? That's one of the storylines I'm fascinated with this college basketball season is, will I succumb and just finally pay for Peacock? Because they have put a disgusting amount of great college basketball games. They are going to, I should say, put a disgusting amount of great college basketball games behind Peacock.
And you know what they're doing to make sure you, specifically people like you, get it. They're putting Indiana Purdue exclusively on Peacock. It's the only way to watch it. So you're getting Peacock. I think I just answered your question.
IU Purdue is going to be on Peacock. Purdue versus Arizona is going to be on Peacock. Ohio State plays Texas A&M early in the season, which I think is going to be a pretty good game. That's going to be on Peacock. They have Michigan State on Peacock. There are a lot of great basketball.
And again,
games
some of them are going to be broadcast on both NBC and Peacock, but there's some Peacock exclusive games. And
were some of those not Peacock exclusive?
I don't think so.
Hold on, dude.
I could be wrong.
Look this back up.
I just know IU Purdue is one of the exclusive
I gotta look this
games.
back up. We might have a. Hold on. No, here's a full list of Big Ten men's basketball games airing exclusively on Peacock. A&M at Ohio State that's the exact same time as Duke. A&M plays Ohio State Friday to open the
that same day as
Duke Arizona. Yeah, it's the exact same time too, 7 Eastern.
Nice.
Tennessee at Wisconsin is also that Friday. What else is it? Wisconsin at Michigan State, Indiana at Michigan, Arizona, Purdue, Maryland, Indiana, Rutgers, Purdue, IU.
Yeah, you're getting Peacock.
This is. I have to get Peacock.
It's great. I subscribed a while back.
I just like Peacock and ESPN Plus were two that I said I'm just not going to, and there's no real reason. It was just like a principle.
You're not on ESPN Plus?
No, still not on ESPN Plus.
80% of college basketball is on ESPN Plus.
It's a protest, Jake. It's a protest.
That's crazy.
Aaron Tippin once wrote a song saying you got to stand for something or you fall for anything. And these are some of the words that I like to live by. When ESPN Plus launched, I said no. I released a one-word statement.
Just no?
No.
Okay.
Just no. And as the years have rolled by and more stuff has gotten put on ESPN Plus, I've tested my resolve many times, but you got to stand for something. Now, I am at a crossroads. I do think that eventually you're going to have to get ESPN Plus, but I don't know. I've been holding out as long as I possibly could. You're right. There have been a lot of great games. Kansas, especially in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think they do exclusive games too, right?
Right. But I've always been like my thoughts behind doing this show have been I want to reflect what people are watching, and my rationale was like I want to sit down and talk about the games that everyone's talking about and everybody's watching. And if these games are happening on ESPN Plus and Peacock, nobody's fucking watching them. Even if you're telling me IU and Purdue are top 5 teams, if they're playing on Peacock, no one's fucking watching that. But I feel like the balance of power is shifting where enough people are going to watch it to where I now have to watch it too, if that makes sense.
Well, they're not just doing this for college basketball. They're putting an NFL wildcard game exclusively on Peacock in January.
Dude, this is disgusting.
Peacock's got all the power. As far as the streaming, they have wrestling too.
I'm going to vomit. Hang on.
Yeah.
I don't feel well. I don't feel well. No, like the Big Ten football is on Peacock this year, but it's like the good games aren't. So I don't really. I'm not really. I've been holding strong, but basketball.
I think you're giving.
How much is it?
I think like $6 a month.
It's not bad.
Yeah, but it's not the money, TJ. It's
the
not even the
principle.
money. It's the principle. Am I a coward if I get Peacock?
I think
it's $5.99 in a month or $60 a year.
You're kind of going boomer mode, I think, by holding out on streaming services. You kind of are being an old head.
You don't hold out on anything?
No.
You don't have any principles?
No, I go for it. If I want to watch it,
I'm not even talking about streaming. I'm talking about anything in life. You've never once been wronged by...
Oh, no, 100%.
Been wronged by a hardware store and said, fuck that hardware store. I'm never buying...
Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
That's Popeye's for you, TJ?
Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I've eaten something and I've been like, I'm never having this again, and then I eat it a few weeks later.
I didn't get the Popeye's chicken sandwich for the first year and a half it was out.
Yeah.
I was like, there's too much frenzy over this. Just buy buns. It's the same chicken. Why is everyone freaking out?
Yeah. I feel like there were a lot of people that were like doing that with Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones is... People are talking about Game of Thrones too much. I'm not watching that show. I'm boycotting that show. Fuck that show.
Yeah.
Fuck. Everybody seems to be talking about
I give it...
You don't have anything, Jake? There's nothing in your life. You've never taken a stand? You've never said, like, I will not do X, Y, Z. I will not give my business to something. I will not... Dude,
not that I can think of off the top of my head. I'll tweet out if something comes to my head after this airs.
You gotta, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
fun,
very bad with peer
have
pressure. So that's part
you're
of
bad
it
with
too.
peer pressure.
Yeah, so like even if I stand for something, I can be easily convinced. So even
I got one. The Ray Allen tweet.
Oh yeah, good
there
call.
You go. See, you're a man of principle, and you're like, I will not.
That's a great call.
And at a certain point, even if you start,
didn't they make you do that?
No. I said I was not going to do it, and then somewhere along the line, wires got crossed. Where because when Purdue lost, they were like, "You said you were going to do this," and I was like, "I never said I was." In fact, I said I can't do that. Now I pissed my pants on air for this company, so I think like what the I mean, the cat's out of the bag at this point. But
but great call. Thank you for saving me there.
But I think even if there comes a day, Jake, where you do the calculus and you're like, honestly, I could probably tweet it and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. You're still going to hold strong.
Yeah.
Because you're a man of principles. That's where I'm at with Peacock, but also I think I might have to get Peacock. Quick break to talk about our friends at Factor. With the busy fall season ahead in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Too busy this fall to cook, but want to make sure you're eating well? With Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. Relish the best of autumn with fall flavors. Our limited time only hearty, comforting meals featuring seasonal veggies like cranberry pecan chicken and apple Dijon pork chops. Ready in just 2 minutes, they'll satisfy your fall cravings during the busy season without the hassle. Need an extra boost to support your wellness goals and feel your best as you tackle a busy autumn? Try Protein Plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. This October, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Head to factormeals.com/Titus50 and use code Titus50 to get 50% off. That's code Titus50 at factormeals.com/Titus50 for 50% off. It is a very busy time of year. You don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what you're going to make yourself. Forget the hassle. Go use Factor. They make it easy for you. The meals are delicious. Factormeals.com/Titus50. Use code Titus50. 50% off. Go do it now. What else we got? Do you have anything else?
I have 2 quick things. Well, one I feel like we've touched on briefly, but just like we do this for PMT for football in the preseason. The same face, new place refresher.
Oh yeah.
So I have a list here from CBS Sports that we can just run down.
Yeah. These are transfers.
Yeah,
or
transfers.
Coaches?
Yeah,
okay.
Transfers. Obviously, Hunter Dickinson, Michigan to Kansas is the biggest one.
Yep.
Ryan Nemhard, Creighton to Gonzaga.
Yep, big one.
Max Asmus, Oral Roberts Darling.
Yep.
They're now at Texas.
Texas, yep.
LJ Cryer, intra-conference transfer. Baylor to Houston, both in the Big 12. So he'll get a revenge game.
He'll be, yeah.
Javon Quinterly from Alabama. He's at Memphis.
Yeah, he is. That one's kind of under the radar. Memphis, I think Memphis is going to beat FAU in the American. I think
talk about a revenge game.
I think they're going to win that conference. I don't know. By the way, I should have said this at the top. I'm doing my secret scrimmage show on Thursday. The Thursday show is going to be my secret. I'm gonna have someone in to and we're gonna talk about we're gonna overreact to all the secret scrimmages.
Funny.
Yeah, because I fucking love secret scrimmages.
Yeah.
I love overreacting to them. And one of them, just as a little teaser, I saw that North Carolina blew out FAU.
So you're out on the Owls.
And listen, my brain says these scrimmages are stupid. My brain says, I've seen these scrimmages. I know how they work. I know that coaches are working on a lot of things. They're tweaking lineups. They should not be taken seriously. And yet, I can't not take them seriously, Jake. So the Owl, I think I might be out on the Owls as like a national title contender.
We have their opening game.
Yep.
Exclusively on streaming. Barstool.
Oh yeah.
You're a big streaming guy.
I'm fired up about that. I'm fired up about the Barstool Invitational, but like. Maybe if I see the Owls in person, I'll do it that way. Like if they ball out in the Barstool Invitational, I'm back in on them.
And it's a road game pretty much.
Yeah, we'll be.
Loyola,
yeah,
Chicago.
they're playing Loyola. Yeah, you're calling the game.
Yeah,
Jake Marsh is calling the game.
Pumped. You're involved in the broadcast too, no?
Yeah, but I mean, I got relegated to like desk duty, dude, with Brandon Walker. I mean,
that's great.
Please,
Charles Barkley.
That's true.
They have the best desk show.
But that's the problem is Brandon thinks he's Charles Barkley. So like I got to be Ernie Johnson, which was great. He's great at what he does.
Yeah, I love Ernie.
But like I should be Charles Barkley in this broadcast.
Yeah.
Brandon should be Shaq. We're just like grunts. Yeah. We're just like throw it to Brandon. He's like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you, and then he just kind of like makes a few noises. And
yeah. So tune in. Opening Wednesday.
Brandon's gonna
November 8th. Barstool.tv.
Brandon's gonna try to be Barkley. I gotta stop him.
We have a top 10 team against a hometown team, Loyola Chicago, and then we have 2 Power 5 teams.
Mississippi State and Arizona State. Keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Javon Quinterly, Memphis.
Yeah, I think that was a good one. Olivier Kamwa, I think he balled out against Duke and knocked them out in the second round from Tennessee.
Almost literally knocked them out. Like that Tennessee team is just fucking throwing elbows
that guy
and punches. Plazich.
Yeah,
he's gone. He's not at Tennessee anymore.
But he's at Michigan, Kamwa.
Kamwa's at Michigan,
Yeah. Kirk Carissa, we talked about. Jesse Edwards, big man from Syracuse, is at West Virginia as well. So they've, despite losing Huggins, they got a few big
West
names.
Virginia's got a decent roster. It just like it slowly fell apart a little bit there. They can if St. John's beats West Virginia, that would be a good win for St. John's. But I think West Virginia had some aspirations this year that have kind of fizzled away. But they won't be bad.
Tremont Mark from Houston is at Arkansas. Bus, so good in the transfer portal.
Yep.
Matthew Cleveland from Florida State is at Miami. So
there we go.
Those are some of the big ones. Shout out Matt Norlander, CBS for the list.
Paul Mulcahy.
Where'd he go?
Washington.
Oh,
did he come back to Rutgers?
No,
Wasn't he
Oscar
supposed to?
Palmquist entered the portal and came back, but the Trilly Donovan post was that it's not going well for a Big Ten transfer in the Pacific Northwest, and his school does not want him back, or didn't have the door open.
Oh,
that was the
door
rumor.
open.
They
so
did
the
not
rumor
name
was
names.
Mulcahy wanted to come back, and you said no thanks. We're good.
That was the rumor.
Yeah. Wow.
Also, one last thing I had, and I think it's going to be more of like learning on the fly, but they're changing the block charge rule. I don't know if you've read into this a lot.
I did.
But it's sounding like unless the official is 100% certain, it's going to be a blocking foul.
Dude, this has been my
right.
thing.
Do I have that correct?
Yeah, and I've been on this for like almost a decade now. Like I've been leading the anti-charge movement for so long that I got bored with it. Like I just kind of stopped doing it because I was like,
I am going to miss the official signals.
Yeah, but I got great news for you. They are going to walk all of this back, and by January they're going to go right back to.
Really, you think?
Yeah.
Just because coaches are going to flip.
Yeah, well, the refs, old habits die hard, and the refs are just going to go right back to what they know, which is.
Yeah. They love doing it. Subscribe to the YouTube to watch Titus's impression.
But I feel like the block could be fun too, though. Like the guys who skip down the. Yeah. They got to change the block. I've said this for years too. You got to change the block. You got to go full suck it sign. If the block was a suck it, I think the refs are more likely to do it more often.
Also,
if the refs could just be like, boom.
Yeah.
Like,
why is this block? Like, what does this mean?
I don't know. If every time you called a blocking foul, you got to stand it. Like a guy comes over, slides over to take a charge, grabs his nuts, falls over, and you're a ref and you want to call a block, and the signal is you have to stand over the guy who's laying on the ground right now, and you're just giving him the fucking suck it cross chop. They would call nothing but blocks. Every ref would Ted Valentine. Are you kidding me? He would just
TV Teddy, yeah.
He would do like 10 pumps of the crotch.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a big reason for the discrepancy in the debate is that it's just more fun for officials to call a charge.
Yeah. Oh, I've been on that for years, dude. I think that's
so it'll
exactly
be interesting.
The case. Yeah.
I kind of like that take by you though. By mid-season, they're just like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched enough college. I've seen enough rules get put in where they're like, this is a huge point of emphasis. It's really gonna open up the game if we stop calling these, or you start calling hand checks a little more often and get the free flowing basketball.
Yeah.
And then it's mid-January and you're watching Purdue, Wisconsin, and they're just mugging the shit out of each other and nothing's being called. Like, I mean, that
probably means more points though in each game, right? If more blocks, means more free throws.
It should. But I'm skeptical. Just like Syracuse playing man-to-man, I'll believe it when I see it.
All right.
I have 3 more.
Okay.
So
that's all I got. So
you're exhausted your topics. All right, I got 3 more for you. So the first one I'll say is the SEC conference race. I've talked myself into this being very, very juicy because I already mentioned that I think Kentucky's going to be pretty good. Tennessee's going to be Tennessee. I mean, yeah, they're Tennessee every year, literally.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's how that works.
Yeah.
But if you're someone that thinks that Tennessee is the Rick Barnes era has been a great program, you're not wrong. You're going to get more of that this year. If you're someone that's like they play ugly basketball and they'll never get it done in March and yada, 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 you're probably not wrong either. It is going to be a very familiar Tennessee team in style of play and Vescovy and, Zakai Ziegler is supposed to come back at some point. I think their style and what you're getting out of Tennessee is going to be very familiar. I respect it. I don't love it. I don't think it's elite, but I think it's very, 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 very good, and it's definitely good enough to win the SEC. So I think Tennessee's going to be fascinating. I think Kentucky, I really believe in them. Texas A&M with Wade Taylor and Radford, dude, those guys are awesome. I think Texas A&M could very easily win the league. Arkansas is going to be so good. They might not win the league, but by the time the tournament rolls around, I think those transfers they got, they're going to have so much talent. They're fascinating. I think Bama's going to take a step back, but
I mean they have to, right? They're the number one overall seed.
It's a good point, Jake. Great point.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Sorry, not to be that guy. But.
No. That's why you're here. That's a great point. I think they're. I don't think Bama's going to be up there, but they deserve to be mentioned at least. And Mississippi State was the team, Barstool Invitational. They're going to be playing. But Tolu Smith,
I'm bummed about that. He was the MVP of our inaugural Barstool Invitational. He's out until conference play, I think.
He's All-American good, dude.
Damn, when I saw that, I was bummed that he's gonna miss the game we're doing.
Hopefully he comes back, but again, it's a foot thing, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
You said big men in the foot.
Big men and feet are just
Bigfoot.
There you go.
That was bad.
Big men with the feet, dude. It just gives me. I don't love it. Aaron Bradshaw, Kentucky's their big man freshman guy. I think he's got a foot injury too. Like I don't know. I hope it works out. Obviously, I do not root for injuries, but at the same time, like I don't necessarily take the You tell me a big man has a foot injury and he's going to be back in 4 weeks. I'm not just taking that as gospel and being like, oh, yeah, he'll be back to 100% in 4 weeks. That's something that I'm like, I got to see this. I got to see the progression when he comes back. But anyway, I wrote down the SEC race because I do think the SEC race is going to be something I am locked in on all season. I think any of those teams can win it. They're really, the top four, Bama I would say is a tier below. A&M, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas. I think all four of those are could win the league by multiple games. And that's going to be all. But Bama and Mississippi State are in the mix too, where they can beat any of those teams. Two more things. One is the National Player of the Year. Obviously, like the race with Edey is the heavy favorite, should be, is probably going to win it again, or maybe not. Maybe there's voter fatigue, but I imagine Edey's going to put up monster numbers like last year, and Purdue's going to be ranked in the top 5.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about them yet, but obviously coming off a historically bad loss.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a repeat season for Purdue, not necessarily in March, but just like in terms of they're going to be at the top of the rankings all year. Edey's going to be awesome all year. He'll probably win National Player of the Year, but what I'm fascinated with the National Player of the Year rate, maybe this is more of like an All-American discussion. The AP, did you see the AP preseason All-American team? Zach Edey, Hunter Dickinson, Armando Bacot, Kyle Filipowski, and Tyler Kolek.
Are all bigs?
Kolek's the guard for Marquette, but there's 4 bigs.
4 bigs, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just fascinated by, and I've said this on a couple shows recently, that the All-Americans are going to be big men, but the guards are going to be the difference in the NCAA tournament. And the guards are like, UConn's guards are going to, as good as Klingon is, UConn's guards are going to win the national championship. They won it last year. As good as Sonogo was, Sonogo was probably, there's probably not, never mind probably, he was UConn's best player last season. UConn won the national championship because of their guard play. Guard play is going to be the difference for national championship runs, and that's just that's going to be an interesting thing as the season progresses. Is will we continue to just be? Will big men continue to be the talking point in college basketball, or are we as fans, and people who cover the sport going to smarten up a little bit and be like, why are we obsessing over all these big men when we should be locked in on the guard play? Bacot was great last year for Carolina.
Yeah.
He's a little up and down at times, but like Carolina's problems were Caleb Love and RJ Davis couldn't really coexist together. And Purdue's problems, like Edey lost in the first round. It wasn't Edey's fault. It was the guard play. So that's something I wrote down that's going to be fascinating, is like the big men are going to get all the headlines. The big men are going to get all the the coming out of a timeout, like the graphic that pops up. These are the top 6 players in the country and all their stats next to each other.
Yeah.
But the guys who know ball are going to be looking at all the guard play because that's going to ultimately be the difference. So there's that. And then finally, the last thing I wrote down on my list, in light of, and this is important because right now all the talk in college sports is Jim Harbaugh's a cheating son of a bitch. And Michigan hasn't beaten Ohio State in a football game in a very long time. Woof. How long has it been now? Like 10 plus years? Because those are vacated, obviously. But I think in light of Jim Harbaugh being a cheating son of a bitch and Michigan being the dirtiest program in college football, I think it's important that everybody remembers that Juwan Howard struck a man. So that's something that I will continue to remind everybody throughout this season.
Are you talking about Greg Gard?
Yeah, he struck Greg Gard. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, you remember when Michigan's coach punched another coach and then was coaching for Michigan later that season?
It was a 5-game suspension?
Yeah, and
like that.
Not only did they not fire him, they let him coach later in that season. You remember that? Yeah.
And they made the Sweet 16, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Juwan Howard struck a man. So people forget.
Yeah.
I'm on a mission to make sure they don't. Michigan men, Jake.
Yes.
Michigan men. They're two guys. Cheating son of a bitch. Struck a man. Those are their 2 coaches. It's the Michigan way, I guess. That's how it goes. You got anything else?
I think that's it.
That's it?
I'm so excited. I'm happy to be back with you. This has been fun.
Have you started prepping for the Barstool Invitational? What's the process like? What's the
So I have my spreadsheets. I can pull.
Let us peek behind the curtain a little bit
right now.
Share the Jake Marsh process.
5% of the way done. But basically, I have a cheat sheet. We call them charts or boards in the biz.
Yep.
And it's got every little detail about every little detail.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm gonna need a second to think about that one.
Yeah. So I have each team. I have every stat. I have their bio information. I have their records. But I have a long way to go.
Are you a type it all out and then print those off?
For basketball,
Type
yeah.
guy, or are you a handwritten guy?
For basketball, I type this all, and then I'll highlight and write notes afterwards. I staple it to a manila folder, legal size, and I'll put it right in front of me. Football, I will do a combo of typing and writing.
Who's got who's the inspiration with the chart sheet? I know you've seen some through the years.
Everyone does it. This template specifically was just passed around through my Syracuse colleagues when I was in college, and I've used that ever since college. But everyone's got different. I know Ian Eagle, I think he writes everything out.
Yeah, I think is that the one I'm thinking of? I have a vivid picture in my head of someone just like a bunch of chicken scratch all over their thing. And
yeah.
Was it Ian Eagles I'm probably thinking of?
I'm pretty sure he writes
Kevin
everything
Harlan?
out.
Does Kevin Harlan do that too?
Everyone does this.
I know everyone does that, but like, are there some that are more erratic than others? Are there
I'm not
some?
sure. I know Sean McDonough, when he was on Monday Night Football, you could see his football chart on a camera shot, and it was just like the size of this table.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, these are charts. This is everything.
What's harder to call, basketball or football?
They're different. Basketball is quicker, obviously. Football, you got to come prepared with more storylines, I think, because there's a lot more breaks.
Yeah.
Here it's a lot more calling the action, but here, like during free throws and timeouts, is when I'm getting to those storylines.
I called one basketball game in my life.
I remember St. John's,
St. Francis.
We got to get back on the call together.
We should, dude.
Yeah.
St. Francis played at St. John's, and Fox gave us the call because it was a game they thought no one was going to watch, and they figured, what the hell, and it was, I think the spread was like 30 points, and it ended up being a very close game, and St. John's pulled it out late, and it was so funny because Tate and I like went into the broadcast thinking we'll call the game for the first half, second half it'll just be comedy hour.
It's gonna be a blowout.
It's gonna be a blowout. So like we had all these like, coming out of timeout segment ideas and like discussion points for when it's a blowout and all that sort of thing. And by the end, I mean, we're calling it like it's a Final Four game because it's
yeah. Do you think you would like to get into that more?
I enjoy doing it, but I don't necessarily need to do it. It was an uphill battle at Fox too, because like it was really funny. I've talked to TJ about like coming to Barstool, where when I was at Fox, I was pegged as like the guy who was not serious. Like some of the Fox people were like, I don't know if we can trust you on air.
Okay.
I'm like, what do you think I'm gonna do? Pull my dick out and like start swinging it around?
Well,
you
pissed yourself.
Yeah, I know. And they're like, maybe. I don't know. We don't know. So it was sort of an uphill battle to get like mainstream legitimate respect. But then I come here, and it was funny because until I pissed my pants, I think the perception from Barstool, from the Stoolies, was that I'm a stick in the mud and I'm like way too like mainstream or way too whatever.
Corporate Titus.
Yeah, I'm corporate
Just
Titus.
because you came from Fox.
Yeah, I guess so. So that was like a funny realization. That was like I'm somehow like way too risky for Fox, but like also way too boring for Barstool.
Well, people forget Big Cat and PFT were once ESPN employees.
That's true.
For
That's a great point.
A show. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love to call a game with you.
Let's do it.
How do we make that happen?
I don't know. How to work our magic. We're putting it out into the universe.
Jake's like, let's do it. I'm like, do you know how to do it? He's like, no, absolutely not.
There's mutual interest.
Yeah, we could call. You know what we should do is like call. No, I can't do that. I promise. No, yeah, I can't do that. My high school does like broadcasts, and I promised them when I moved back to Chicago, like the guy who runs like the what's the AV club? Is that the, or like the, what do you call it? Like the
like TV production?
The TV production club at the high school. I promised him that like I would come to a basketball game this year and do color commentary for a high school basketball game.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, I originally was thinking you should come call, but then that kind of defeats the purpose if we like push the high school kids out of the way.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, we can call Barstool basketball games in this office.
There we go.
Yeah.
We should do that shit together. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do that. I'm excited for this office, man.
I'm so excited.
This place
incredible.
rules so far. When do you think it'll be fully open? TJ, what you go first. When
They are saying 2 weeks.
2 weeks, it'll be fully open.
Fully, like everyone will be working out of here.
Okay, can I use the golf simulator in 2 weeks?
I don't know. Fully, like 100% running.
Yes.
I don't know, January. I
Yeah.
have no
Yeah.
like. There's like an industrial kitchen in here for Chef Donnie that's like nicer than most restaurant kitchens.
Yeah.
There's like a million auxiliary studios. There's so much that's like coming into this place that.
So question, do you think we'll ever actually be 100%, or do you think by the time
Right.
by the time like all that stuff,
Something else is
The
needed.
goalposts will continue.
then like
Yeah.
now my studio needs a new touch up because it's been so long and like we got to tweak
The
this
AC
now.
needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and there's like it's always it's like Manhattan where there's always something under construction. They're always building something. It's never fully.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
But
what this office
it's
is.
exciting. It's very exciting. Like when we all moved here, it was this vision, and now it's here. It's really exciting,
dude. It is. You like Chicago so far?
So far, so good. Yeah. I'm an East Coast guy, so it's been a little bit of an adjustment. But
What's the biggest adjustment? Would you just being away from family?
yeah.
Other than that, like, what about culturally? Like, what's the biggest adjustment?
Culturally, I see a lot of similarities between here and New York City. The food scene is very similar.
Mhm.
They're both above average, more than above average.
Do you live around like the?
Yeah, I'm here in the
I
West.
don't want to
Loop.
dox you, but you're okay. Yeah, you're.
Yeah, so it's
you're around
much
like the
easier
good
commute now
restaurants?
for me.
Yeah,
But yeah, pumped.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too. I gotta buy a jacket though. I'm coming. From
I need to
LA.
get another one too.
Coming from LA, I'm very.
Oh yeah, you
very,
moved from LA.
I don't know.
I'm breaking my
kinda-
Syracuse and Burlington, Vermont jackets back out,
Oh yeah.
so I'm prepped.
I'm a little defiant going back to like just putting my foot down and saying no. I don't know, dude. I'm trying to like fight the weather. Like I kind of have this idea in my head that like the jackets I have will be enough, and everyone around me is like, dude, you've been away from the Midwest too long, man. You don't know what's coming. And I'm like, bring it on, dude. I got a couple coats. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you have like a big one, like the big one for the big one? And I'm like, I don't need that.
Also,
shit, dude.
we're
I'm just
fortunate to have this office. I don't plan on leaving much.
Yeah. You know what my bougie answer is when people are like, dude, you need a bigger coat. I'm like, dude, I'm just not gonna go outside. I'm gonna do what rich people do and like fine. Someone pointed that out to me one time if you like watch Succession, like the characters like are rarely outside. Like they don't wear heavy coats because they just are like in a limo, and then that takes them straight to their private jet, and then the private jet, and they're like never actually outside. And then I've been obsessed with that. I think that's why I don't get a jacket.
did the same thing when I went to Syracuse, like, and I was flying home to Florida. I would not bring a jacket in January.
Yeah.
Because for what, a 5-second walk or waiting for an Uber? I'm not bringing a jacket for that. Like, I don't bring a jacket when I travel.
So I think that's my attitude this winter is like I want to be like the elites.
Yeah. I like that.
Which is not going to work because I have a dog that I have to take on walks, and I'm going to have to go out and walk him and be like, fuck, I'm an idiot, dude. Why did you think that you were Kendall Roy? You're not Kendall Roy. You idiot. Jake, this was fun, man. Appreciate it. You have any shout outs? Let's just wrap up the whole show right now. Do you have anything else? College basketball.
Shout out you having me back on. Shout out college basketball.
Good shout out, Jake.
Yeah.
Good shout out. Shout out me.
Shout out behind the scenes crew.
TJ,
Brody,
you got anything?
Rutgers Bowl eligible.
That's right.
What a world.
You did it.
And also Michigan.
You
Jail or prison.
You should get the Michigan W back.
Brandon
Dude.
Walker put us in his top 10, his updated top 10,
Let's go.
because we would have been 7-1.
Yeah, you should be 7-1 right now.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, dude, I think this is fucking big. Like this is like I legitimately think this is like Michigan's getting shit vacated and Harbaugh's done, dude.
You
Like-
think it's actually getting that direction?
I think he's going to the NFL now. Like
Yeah.
I think this is like so when the news first broke, I was just trying to be like a Buckeye homer and ham it up, just to pretend like you cheating sons.
Yeah.
I actually genuinely think that the rest of the Big Ten is going to be extremely fucking shitty about this. They already are. I legitimately think Michigan football's in trouble.
Didn't this happen with Pete Carroll? Right when the Reggie Bush thing, and then he just left for the Seahawks. Or am I
I thought you meant like spying on.
No.
But
I'm just saying the
you're right. No,
situation.
the same situation where there were sanctions coming, and he was like, "Peace, I'm going to NFL." I think Harbaugh will do that too. But dude, it is. I mean, I don't know at what point I went from like I'm gonna make a big deal about this as a joke to like, oh wait, shit, this is like actually. Like, dude, the fact that TCU beat them makes so much sense now.
Crushed them.
That they
no. TCU got crushed by Georgia. Did Michigan?
The TCU was handing it to Michigan for a second, and Michigan came back, and then it was like a close game in the end. But like TCU won. TCU beat them. TCU had no business beating Michigan last year, and the reason they beat Michigan, Jake, TCU's not a Big Ten team. They weren't scouting them all season. They weren't cheating They couldn't cheat against TCU.
It's going to be interesting.
The evidence is
all the
damning. The
facts
evidence
that are
is-
coming out.
The evidence is so funny. I'm gonna very much enjoy what happens next. I really do, because as much as toothless as the NCAA is, this might not even be an NCAA issue. This could be like a Big Ten issue, because I think like all the other presidents and ADs are gonna be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this isn't like paying for as the other hardball cheating scandal where you're buying cheeseburgers for your team and it's like we're gonna pretend like that's a big deal, but it's really not. Like, if you're actually fucking filming, you're stealing our plays basically.
Yeah.
Dude, it's very funny.
Yeah.
Very, very funny. So
Crazy.
Hopefully Michigan can beat Ohio State at some point in football, right? Like, it's been forever now. Now it's been forever. 23. It's been about 10 years. I think 20. When was it? 2011? Was that the last time they beat us?
Let's see.
When's the last time they beat us?
Are we talking asterisk or no asterisk?
Yeah, well, I mean, the last two don't count. Obviously, they're cheating their balls off. You know all of our fucking plays.
2011.
Yeah, 2011. So it's been 12 years now. Damn. And this year's not going to count, even if they win this year. Like, obviously, that's cheating. So, damn, dude. Damn. Tough scene for Michigan. But at least you have a – Michigan fans, if you are disgusted by the behavior of your football coach, just give all your attention to the basketball coach. Actually, no, you can't do that because he struck a man. Shit. Fuck. That's right. Two terrible role models leading the Michigan Wolverines. That sucks. All right, that's the show. Thank you to Jake Marsh for joining me, breaking down the college basketball storylines. Like I said, on Thursday, we're doing some scrimmage overreactions. We have to. I can't resist. I've been seeing all the headlines. I've been seeing my Buckeyes winning at Dayton. Big win at a sold-out UD arena.
Congrats.
Buckeyes pulled off the dub. Yeah, so I'm going to do that on Thursday. We're going to go through all the scrimmages going on around the country and just make overreaction to them. In the meantime, enjoy. We'll see you guys Thursday.